very good afternoon and welcome to Falun in the southwest of Sweden for the finale of the cross-country World Cup season. 3 races still to go, and although the women's title has already been decided, the men's is going all the way with a 3-horse race as such with Petter Northug. In the women's race, Mike, the prologue today, always a difficult distance to predict. 3.3 kilometres. Does it suit the endurance? In fact, 2.5 today. Does it suit the endurance athletes, or do you think the sprinters can cope with that sort of distance?
I think it's borderline for the sprinters, but we are continually seeing the sprinters in the women's field especially being able to cope with the victories or the top 5 position in the sprints as they can for the distance. So well, I think we're looking at Justina.
Is it time for a podium
maybe even Johaug?
Yeah, I hope so. The track series is really tough, but I think the shape is good, and I was a little bit tired after 30k in Cologne, but after some day with relaxing, I am ready for the race.
It's a short competition, 2.5 kilometers. Is it long enough for you to work on your climbing skills?
Maybe a little short, but yeah, the hills is really steep, and I hope to do a good race here. So we'll see in the end how it goes. But of course, 2.5 kilometers is not my favorite distance. So I hope maybe that we can take 30k uphill.
And what are your plans for the World Cup final overall?
Of course, I will do the best sprint in Stockholm as I ever had a hope. So I hope to fight for the podium, of course.
Well, I think it's fair to say she's looking pretty good after those relaxing days. Therese Johaug, the darling of the Norwegian ski team. What a season she's had. Once again, thrilling everyone in Oslo with a win in the 30-kilometre. She starts 35 today. Remember, the best from the sprint in Stockholm, starting 52. But as Therese said herself, she had her best ever sprint, and that really set her up for a good race today. She was 4th in this mini tour last year. I'm pretty sure she's going to finish in the top 3 of the World Cup standings.
Yeah, you'd expect so, and she has worked on the short sprints, or the actual sprints this season. She's improved, but she's still not there with Justina Kowalczyk and with Marit Bjørgen quite yet.
But when she's on her day, she's a fantastic racer to watch. So a lot of the Norwegian fans will be cheering on Therese Johaug as she goes round. There are the jumps in the background. 90-metre one on the left.
2, 1, and 0.
No. Well, here are the conditions in Falun, minus 2.3 degrees, which is good news for the course setters. They've got a few problems. I know the snow looks good, but they're very, very concerned about the depth of snow and the fact that the snow has got to last for the full 3 days. We finish late on Sunday afternoon. Let's have a look at the course, because it is different from last year, and so we're not expecting last year's times to be any guide whatsoever. 6:54 was the winning time from Bjørgen last year. The course essentially, Mike's been reversed.
It has. We've still got the top of the Mordorbakken, or the Queen of the Climb, or the Killer Hill as it's called. And the main bulk there, Patrick, the 1.2 kilometres to the high point. And we've seen athletes in the past pushing so hard to get the split time at the top of the climb, and leaving nothing for the, although it's much easier, but leaving nothing for the important finish in this stadium.
Yeah, certainly last year, if anything's to go by, in the men's race, you could make up 15 seconds on the descent back down into the stadium. The women, no one really made up a huge amount of time, but if the skis are good and the skis are gliding well, then it could be worth between 5 and 10 seconds. So you've got to be in touch at the top of the climb, but you don't need to be leading.
I think so. I think you can't be more than, say, 6 or 7 seconds behind at the top of the climb if you want to take the victory. So Marit Bjørgen, of Kowalczyk, and of course Johaug probably would expect maybe setting the fastest time by the 1.2 kilometre.
Well, let's go through the start sheet. You just might have seen Kowalczyk, who goes last, having started this mini tour in the best possible style, winning in Stockholm. A gutsy performance from Kowalczyk. It wasn't exactly a pretty sight. Her double poling technique, it's not textbook, but my goodness, it's effective. And she seems to have sped up the tempo. She's certainly worked on the recovery of the arm. Bring the arms forward as quick as possible. That obviously increases the tempo, increases your speed.
But she's so strong, isn't she? You mentioned it was all 90% double pulling in Stockholm. She has the upper body strength. I was a little surprised Bjørgen wasn't able to match her in the double pulling power. But Justina, not sure today's going to suit her with it being the freestyle technique quite as much, but she will be competitive.
Well, we've got over 35 minutes before the big names, or those in contention for this mini tour, get underway. Monique Siegel of Germany will be the first to start, 20-year-old, born on New Year's Day. So I can think of a lot of people born on New Year's Day who wouldn't remember their birthday. Had some good Alpen Cup results, actually, Siegel, so it'll be interesting to see how she converts that into senior level racing. Didn't qualify for the knockout phases in the Stockholm sprint, so some would say she's a little bit fresher, because there's no doubt that the remaining 3 rounds take it out of you, although they've had 48 hours to recover from their exertions over in Sweden.
Don't talk, please. Don't talk. Don't talk. Thank you again.
Well, this, of course, is the venue for the World Championships in a few years' time. Mike, they'll be hoping to have a bit more snow than they've got this year.
Well, they will, and they're still looking at altering some of the tracks and the track profiles for the World Championships. And I've heard they might be rebuilding some of the ski jumps as well. So be interesting, a huge regeneration. And 2015, it should be an exciting time for Swedish skiing.
Do you think they'll keep the Mörderbacken as the main feature, or will they change that?
I think they'll keep that in. It's been such a traditional part of the Falun courses here for many years, and it is such a steep climb. Unfortunately, we're not able to use all of it today because of that lack of snow.
So away goes Siegel of Germany, and she effectively, starting 1:23 behind at the end of the first event, is effectively 500 metres behind the leaders in the mini tour at the moment. So let's just remind the viewers, the sprint in Stockholm was the first phase of this mini tour. 50 points for the win there in Stockholm, 50 points for winning here today, 50 points tomorrow, and then the winner of the tour on Sunday picks up a whopping 200 points. So there will be a lot of changes in the World Cup standings, but I can tell you that Justina Kowalczyk, 667 points clear of her nearest rival. It's a ludicrous amount of points she's accrued this year, nearly 2,000. She can't be touched. The crystal globe is hers.
Quite amazing what she's done. I think that's the highest male or female point score on any racing season. She's just she's been there for every race, though, Patrick. Remember, a lot of the other big names didn't go to Canmore and Quebec City, and of course Bjørgen was unwell for a large part of that after Christmas period.
First of the Italians, and a member of the Carabinieri, Deborah Agraita for Italy, 22-year-old now. I think the freestyle is her better technique, as is usually the case with the Italians. I think at school they just decided there's no point taking stick wax. It's so much easier just to prepare the skis for gliding. Number 4 is Iksanova for Russia. Got the bronze medal in the World Championship relay. The Russians, Mike, with, what have they got? 7 competitors today. Norway have 10, Finland 6, the USA have got 6. Those 4 nations, 50% of the field.
It's amazing. I thought we'd have more Swedes in at this stage, but I think Sweden is one of the female teams whose season has not been as they would have hoped or expected.
But the minor nations are here as well. 2 Japanese, Ashida, the number 1 Japanese. Poland, of course, they may only have 1 competitor, but they've got the best competitor. It's a bit of a trump card to play Kowalczyk. And then, of course, Slovenia have Vizhna, who is their sole representative today. Shevchenko goes for the Ukraine, and she'll follow Iksanova out of the start blocks.
I'm sure we'll see Shevchenko next season. From what I hear, Patrick, she will be there for potentially her 5th Olympic Games, and she's done so well in the past at Olympics. 5th position, 30-kilometre classic. I'm sure she'll be wanting to do the same again.
Yeah, she's 37 now, so it must be getting towards the end of her career. Nishikawa for Canada, lives in Canmore. Didn't race in the Oslo 30, so I guess you could say she'll be fresher than some. 47th in Stockholm. Not really an out-and-out sprinter, but had to enter the sprint to qualify for this phase of the competition.
Well, that's right. I mean, I like the way that each day, today, yes, there's bonus seconds for crossing the line. And this little mini tour, you have to be here every day and performing at your best to try and pick up, hoover up the points.
Naoko Omori, 23-year-old, and the Japanese generally, instead of being associated with the armed forces, which a number of the European teams are, they're associated with big business. I think she's with the Akita Xerox ski team, and that's quite a nice touch, isn't it, that the Toshibas and the Sanyos are prepared to support athletes, generally going for ski jumping and cross-country skiing.
Well, that's right, and in Europe it's border guards, it's police, it's forestry, it's military. So yeah, I mean, the big business, get on board. And well, for the Japanese team, they're so isolated, I suppose, as the Chinese team are. They're abroad for so many months.
You ever approach Thornton's?
Would like
right,
to.
Let's have a look at the top of the climb. 1.2 kilometres, the halfway stage just about. 2.5 kilometres the total distance today. Siegel goes through in 3:58. It's still a pretty brutal hill, although they have changed the course. Don't for 1 second think that it is easy here in Falun. Hug of France, is she going to match it? I think she is, and quite comfortably too. Good start for the Frenchwoman. Comes from